I'm JClay. I'm a spiritual rap artist. I make music to help people quiet their minds and just have a nice, still, quiet mind to unite the conflicts within so that without they can be at peace. I rap with a trio called Fifth Flow, and I'm in the Houston area. So in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, we had our music playing in all the clubs. Around 2018, I came across a book called A Course in Miracles, which is said to be channeled by Jesus. And when I read it, it spoke to me. It was just like, this is the truth. This is the missing pieces that I was looking for.
Welcome, everyone, to the One Moment Podcast. I am your boy and your co-host, KevO. And I do have to say, this is my first recording on our show, and our first show period, since February the 26th, since the big day. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey since the 26th, but it's not about me, okay? Because I can make everything about me. That's how selfish and self-centered I am. Everybody knows me, all right? And not everybody knows Mr. JClay. Now, I've done some of my research on him, and he's a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal musician. A lot of good family history from what he's already educated me on. And so, listen, before we get started in today's show, before I let him introduce himself, those of you who know me and follow us know that we talk about some hard topics. So if you were triggered at all, period, during any of our uh, uh, sessions, please utilize resources. Contact your therapist, contact your psychiatrist, go to a local emergency department, go to a local crisis center. Help is available. Please utilize your resources. Now, since we got the disclaimer out the way, moving to the good stuff. Mr. J Clay.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know you, I think I started following you on Instagram a while ago. I have to double check and make sure, but I've done my research on you. I want you to update the public on who you are. For those of you who don't know who you are.
Okay. Well, one, thank you for having me here. And I'm Jay Clay. I'm a spiritual rap artist. I make music to help people quiet their minds and just have a nice, still, quiet mind to unite the conflicts within so that without they can be at peace always in every step and even reconnect with their true self, their true essence, and their creator in a sense, that creative energy that always is and that is very loving and non-conditional, unconditional love, all that. I help people to connect through that, through music and coaching. So I have a lot of songs, um, a nice catalog that help people with just different mental issues and things.
I love it. I love it. Now I have to ask, okay? Always ask all of the musicians that come on here. Uh, what got you into doing the spiritual rap music stuff like that to help quiet, like, because that's a very specific like scope, right? Like you got different types of genres of rap, you got, and then you've got the spiritual piece of it, right? Like that's a specific genre in rap itself. Like, what got you started with that?
So what got me started with just rap, period. I was a rap artist and well, after college actually. I used to make beats and then I kind of stumbled into rapping and had a group and we really pursued music. I was a typical rapper, typical egoic rapper. I mean, I was good, but I was rapping about the stuff everyone else raps about. I would maybe sprinkle some wisdom in from what I had at that time. But mostly I was talking about women, talking about money and how I'm better than others and stuff. And if you don't see things my way, you're worse off, stuff like that. And so things would happen as we progress because we put in the work. We like I rap with a trio called Fifth Flow, and I'm in the Houston area. So in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, we had our music playing in all the clubs. We had our merchandise in all the major malls that were here. So we were doing pretty well, but we never got over that hump. And every time it seemed like we were getting closer, there would be some kind of epic fail that had nothing to do with us. It was almost like God stepped in and said, "Nope, not right now." And it's like, what? So I always took it as a sign, like, okay, maybe there's something I'm doing or not doing. Let me go within. Let me figure out some stuff. And I would come out, better with new information, but this repeated over and over. And I was like, well, maybe it's not meant for me to do music. Then in around 2018, I came across a book called A Course in Miracles, which is said to be channeled by Jesus. And when I read it, it spoke to me. It was just like, this is the truth. This is the missing pieces that I was looking for of my, I guess, mentality that I formed of why we're here, how things work. But I was able to answer everything, and the things I couldn't answer, I was able to kind of get in touch with to have answers to it. And then I realized, like, man, I really did bring this all on myself. Like all the stuff that I struggle with, I can see how I made that happen, and I can see how I need to change my ways and things. And so I had unreleased music that I was like, I can't make this music anymore. I have to. And it wasn't that it was bad, but it's just that it sowed seeds of doubt. It sowed seeds of separation, just things that I don't want more of in my life. And I know that if I gave that to people, I would be opening myself up to receiving it. So I kind of knew I had to make a shift. Then I think 2018 was when I started playing with making songs to see if I could make it by teaching, but not being corny, um, and getting the message there. And it worked out. Like I listened, I was like, this is pretty good. I let others hear it. They agreed. And then here I am.
Wow. That is a beautiful, just a journey and path. It's like you're struggling emotionally and mentally with music, and then you read a book, and then boom, you have like a spiritual type of experience, spiritual awakening, and then it's like it's just complete transformation.
Yeah. And I mean, it took practice. Like I won't say like I just read it and I got it. Well, I understood it, but there's a difference between understanding and knowing, like actually living it. Like you can understand all you want. And we were kind of talking about this earlier. Like once you live it, you can get it better. And I really wanted to live it. I wanted to have this peace. I wanted to have this joy all the time. I didn't like being angry. I mean, there are people that say, to be human, it means you have to go through all these negative emotions and things. You experience it all. And I'm like, I experienced it already. I'm good with that. I want the I want the happiness. I want the joy. And I love staying in this place. And it keeps growing. It keeps growing more and more. Just when I think I can't be happier, something else happens. And then I reach that level, but then I kind of drop back down. Like it's kind of like cycles. But when I drop down, it's not lower than like my new low is higher than what I started off with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. Look, there's a guy, and I forget his name. I think his name is William James.
Yeah.
He taught, and he wrote a book on the variety of spiritual experiences or something like that. And long story short, he talks about how there are two types of basically spiritual experiences, and he shared that one of them is like a burning bush type of moment, right? Like, and I'm sure you've heard about those people and those experiences. And so he talks about the other kind, and he talks about how they are the educational variety, and he goes on to explain what that is. And so I like, it sounds like you are like very similar to me. I'm of the educational variety. I can read something, I can understand it, I can get it, like, but it takes through mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake for me to actually comprehend and know what or what it is that I need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect sense. Like, for instance, like I understood basically one of the things that I luckily did before I read this book was I was very intentional in my thoughts because before that, when I was still trying to understand everything, I came across a quote, which is my favorite quote in life. This: watch your thoughts for they become your words. Watch your words for they become your actions. Watch your actions for they become your habits. Watch your habits for they become your character. Watch your character for it becomes your destiny. And when I first heard that quote, like it stopped me in my tracks because I'm like, it can't be that easy. Your thoughts can't lead to your destiny. Like you can't just change your thoughts one day and all of a sudden you're living in a new space. But then I started tracing it backwards, and I noticed like people who I would think I know their destiny or something, or seeing them in their success, you trace it back and it's true. Like they have these actions, they have these habits, they have these words they say, they think about it constantly. And so I had a period of time where I was silent because I was watching my thoughts. Like I would be in group conversations and I would just listen to what comes up, or I'll be in new situations and watch like, oh, why did this thought come up in this situation? And then I saw that I was almost on autopilot. Like I would just react to stuff without even being conscious of it. And once I started being conscious of it, it's like, okay, so now that I see what thoughts are coming up, maybe I can start to choose other thoughts and not be, stuck in these. And so like one of the things that book told that helped me break through were these conflicting thoughts of separation and of just assuming someone wishes me harm or just stuff like that.
No, no, right, right. And it's interesting because, on what you just shared, got a buddy of mine. Also a co-founder of the podcast. His name is Ruben. I remember years ago when he and I first met, and you would love him. You would love to talk to him, and I can just see you and him just going back and forth all day on some of these conversations. And I remember he told me about a book named The Secret or something like that that he always that he loves, and he always talks about it. Even in his therapy, he talks about it with patients, and he talks about how what we think, therefore we bring into fruition, right? And I used to be mad at him for that. I'm like, dude, you can never say that because you're missing the whole complete part of the action process, all these other steps that you spoke about, right? And reality is as I sit back now, and this was 5, 6, 7 years later, as I sit back now and I actually think about what he said, it's the same thing that you just said, the same exact thing. What I think, I therefore do. What I do, therefore, becomes a habit. What my habit turns into character, like this whole step by step process. I never heard him on when he said that, but it wasn't until I had my own experience with it, and I had to process it, and that's where I sat back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I get it. I freaking get it.
Yeah, it's twofold. So like that's one end of the spectrum, but then also like let's say you're doing this unconsciously, this becomes who you are, and even though people may not love themselves, they love themselves, like because there is part they who they think they are is of their own creation. So it's like I love my ego. I love who I've become. I love the way I think because this is truth. How I think is the truth right now, and people have that. So when they come across something that goes against that truth, they may want to fight because they think it means the end of them. Because believing this new truth now means that they must crumble and fold. So you have this ego that you have to start to loosen yourself from so that now you can reshape yourself into who you want to be, but also not get caught up in that new creation, but realize from the space of creation, like, oh, at any moment I could assume this identity, or any moment I can invoke confidence, I can invoke peace, and always choose based on my intention. That doesn't mean that you control how the situation will play out, but you can control how you react and how you feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I'm getting my philosophers mixed up here, but I'm gonna say Epictetus is the one that said it. I think it's more of a Stoic philosopher that's a little bit older than or a little bit before Epictetus, but they teach that it is okay for us to make decisions and take actions and things like that. But what is not okay with is when we start trying to claim attachment to the consequences, to the outcomes of our decisions. That the most important thing that we can do in any given day, any given situation, is to allow the outcome to be whatever it's going to be. The outcome, we can learn from the outcome, we can reflect in the outcome, we can learn, as you said, right? Like whenever whenever you go up, you kind of fall back, but it's your next highest low. And then you kind of, and it's that reflection process that, that is stress to us, that where we need to rest at, where we need to focus at, not, and it's not the outcome that matters.
Right. Exactly. And even with like triggers, because I know you mentioned triggers at the beginning of this. When I was in this, like this space of understanding it and it's all clicking and I'm shedding this egoic identity, I started to welcome the triggers because it helped me heal faster. Like it showed me the limiting beliefs that I still held on to. Because, when you're triggered, you don't always stop to think about, why am I triggered? Like, why from them saying these combination of words does it make me so angry? Is it, do I believe it's true? And then if I believe it's true, why do I believe it's true? Or is it not true? And if it's not true, why does it matter to me? Like, why is this, so hurtful? And then when you start to peel those layers, you realize it may have been based on something that has no truth to it at all, like just something that you believed when you were younger. Uh, for instance, I actually discovered a hidden belief that I didn't realize when I was at this retreat a couple of weeks ago. And so this lady, she did like an activation on me. Like she can see certain things, certain energies, and she was telling me I need to root more in mother, like mother nature, mother earth and things. Even though I'm always outside, I'm always walking. I get downloads when I'm outside, but I was like, okay, let me step into this. So when I would think about rooting into earth, it would just be a block. It's like, I can't do that. Like I'll be stuck still. This is crazy. I'm not rooting in earth. This is dumb. But I realized how much, like, I don't know how painful it was for me to imagine. And I was like, I thought I'm past all this. I can imagine anything, like without any attachment. So I started asking why. I was like, why? And then what I received in that moment was, when I was like 6 or 7 years old, someone told me or taught me that heaven is up there and hell is down here. And so I must have associated like hell being inside of the earth. So in some kind of ways, I wasn't like fully accepting of it, if that makes sense. But that's just I don't believe in hell at all right now. But that's just an example of our beliefs having playing out in certain situations that we might not even know is there, based on something we accepted as a truth, which might not necessarily be true.
No, hey, listen, I'm right there with you. There's a lot of things that even at a young age that I used to believe that now I truly no longer believe anymore. And it's like, wow, okay. And it's just that transformation process is going back to shedding the layers, right? I like to use the analogy of peeling the onion back, right? Like let's peel this onion. It's going to be crying. It's going to be painful. It's going to be tearful. It's going to be heartaches and headaches. Let's peel this onion back, and let's get down to the core of who we are as human beings. And when you actually get to the core of who we are, we're all the same. It doesn't matter, right? Like like I get that we got all these social ideals here from, from this group to that group to this political party to that political party, so on and so forth. Well, like, let's shed everything, right? Let's shed this onion all the way to the absolute core of who we are. And when it boils down to that, there's no difference between any of us. Doesn't matter. Like, you can add whatever label you want. You can add the label of inmate, or convict. I'm an ex-convict myself. I like to brag about that, right? But you can add the label of Hispanic. You can add the label of, LGBTQ. You can add the label of teacher, musician, truck driver. Doesn't matter. All these labels just means that this is part of our identity, our makeup of what we've, become, in life. At the core of who we are, though, we're just another human being, who has thoughts and feelings. There's nothing else to that. Like, you know, you can't change that. I can't change that. The only way that changes is when I'm, as I like to say, is 10 toes up. I mean, then I'm just a core of body with no energy, right? But I love what you're sharing, because when I learned that, right, when I learned that part, I was able to, like, I'm currently in Texas right now, so I don't have none of my spiritual stuff set up. So, like, what I do to help myself get in that spiritual mindset, I go outside in the backyard and, where I'm at, she's got, one half is the building, right? One half is a building and whatever. The other half is grass, because it's a little housing development. I literally will walk circles in the grass part. And I do it most of the time barefooted. Like, I will walk barefooted, and I'm just sitting there getting grounded, getting reconnected with nature, getting reconnected with self, right? And that is so spiritually, emotionally, and mentally transforming in and of itself.
Yeah, I love it, and what you said, like there's no difference. There's no separation. Even so much so that when people try to put labels on others, they don't realize they are embodying that same label. Like, for example, you may hear somebody say, I hate talking to stupid people. I'm tired of talking to stupid people. But then they're talking to a person that they labeled as stupid. To me, that would be stupid. Like, why would you knowingly talk to a stupid person if you believe that they're stupid? So they're being that, or like I have a lyric since you brought up you went to jail before, where I say the jailed becomes the jailer, enforcing rules he was teach. Too busy jailing more jailers. Jailer forgets that he's free. Jailer calls everyone jealous when they don't care for his key. Jailer was sold on the sale. He tried to sell one to me. And basically, like what that means is that the one who's doing the gelling and the one who is in jail, you're right next to each other. You have the same energy. You are bouncing off each other ideas, and the worse you try to make it for another person, the worse off you're going to feel because you're receiving what you're giving. There is no separation. Give, receive, learn, teach. It's all one and the same. And the more we begin to realize that, the better our lives can become because now we can give this freely and openly, knowing that we will receive this ourselves.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. My great grandmother years ago, when I was probably 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, she used to say all the time, "Damn it, Kevin, you lay with dogs, you gonna wake up with fleas." And I never understood what she was saying. Never. Because at that time you don't think abstractly, right? Like you can't think in abstract terms. Like you can hear lyrics, but not really hear lyrics. You see what I'm saying? And you can understand that Eminem is saying this, but you don't realize that he's talking trash to Ja Rule, and vice versa, right? Like you just hear the lyrics, it's like, oh yeah, that's some dope stuff, right? But you don't really hear. And it wasn't until I was about, I don't know, must have been about 16 or 17, and it clicked, right? And today it's about I am who I'm around. If I'm gonna put myself out there on the streets, running the streets, doing what I used to do, I might as well turn my state license back in and be like, "Hey, I'm done with therapy now. I'm done being a therapist. I'll come back to you when I'm ready to rock and roll." Because I know what's going to happen if I go back and I sleep with dogs, right? If I go back to that path, right? If Because I'm putting that type of energy out there in the world, I'm going to get that energy back. But what I've learned is people, places, and things. I have to change people, places, and things. Not saying I can't go around people, places, and things. I can't immerse myself in said people, places, and things. I need to immerse myself doing stuff like this, doing, with the healthy folks. It's not doing the stuff I used to do. So I love what you're sharing. I mean, it's very critical. It is absolutely critical to recovery, to mental health, substance use, suicide prevention. Everything that you're sharing is related to, reducing recidivism rates. Let's just, you know, throw it out there. I mean, everything is related to changing our lives one moment at a time.
And I love how you worded it about you can be around, you just shouldn't immerse yourself around it. Like, because I know there are tons of people that say, I got to block this person and block that person. And I understand that. And it's really about knowing yourself to an extent. Like, you can, if you feel you will still be susceptible to it, yes, you should block them for a time, but once you step into yourself, once you immerse yourself with the energy that you want to embody, then it's okay to, still be around them and not necessarily be affected because in a sense you can affect them for the better. Like, you can actually help them start to heal by you just being the new you, but not really judging them as the old you, and it makes the relationship easier for better. It allows everyone to heal, not just you be isolated and healed in a box and become afraid of the world.
Right, right. Because the seed has been planted.
Right.
It's not my job to apply the seed and to make the seed grow. It's their job to, make the seed grow. I've done my part. I've planted the seed with others.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that we can do.
Yeah.
I had a good friend of mine, and um he, unfortunately he passed away about a year ago. He was sober, like, shoot, man, this dude was sober. 30, 35 years. And one of the things he was telling me, he shared his experience with me. He said that he had a good friend of his who had relapsed, and he was over there hanging out with him, spending time with him. And he said, he saying that the guy told him grab him a beer and take him and go over here and buy and so he can go buy this and go buy that. And he said that he did all of those things for him. And I said, well, dude, don't you think that was dangerous? He said, why? He said, my job is to be a friend, not to talk to him about recovery. He's not open to recovery. He's open, is to be a friend first and foremost. And then when he's ready for recovery again, then my job is recovery. And it didn't click until until I was in that same exact position myself. As you said, right? Educational variety. I love what you shared at the very beginning. We can hear things, we can comprehend it, but do we really know it? And so when I had that same exact experience myself, that's when it clicked and it made absolutely perfect sense. And it's like, wow, it's not about this, that, and the third. It's about literally that human to human connection first and foremost that allows for the seed to be planted. And if that seed needs to be watered, I'm there to help water it. But if not, my job is still just to be the seed, you know, and be a friend amongst friends.
Yeah. I love that because that is the perfect way to be. Like I found sometimes where because sometimes you'll want to help somebody out and you'll bring up something and then that puts them on the defensive mode and so now they want to argue you and so like what I would say to people definitely in that situation I had said to myself don't argue with them because now you're giving them a platform to uphold this belief that doesn't help them in any way. So it's better to just like you said let go, be a friend. And then, if they so choose to say, okay, tell me more about this, or it comes up, then you can water that seed, like you said.
No, no, absolutely. It sounds like you and I had a very similar spiritual experience.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like, so this is what I've been discovering. You probably have too. So many people have had spiritual experiences, but maybe didn't I don't know, like they just dismissed it or something. Like I found out my mom has psychic abilities and stuff, but she has fear around some light fear around it where she doesn't want to dive into that. And she told me how it runs in the family. I'm having friends that I'll tell them something cool that happened spiritually. And they were like, yeah, when I was little, blah, blah, blah. And it's like there's this whole other world that we don't talk about that can lead to everyone's awakening and everyone coming into these realizations where they can have this eternal peace, this eternal happiness, but they just dismiss it just because I don't know, they value the physical over what creates the physical.
No, well, listen, it is interesting. I will say this is what I do believe. Okay, I work on an inpatient unit, psychiatric behavioral health inpatient unit, and I think this is part of it. Part of the answer to that. I think I think what you're saying is true. It's for some reason there's some fear or whatever, like this stops people from talking about this other realm, right? This other whatever you want to call it, right? Realm or spiritual side or whatever, afterlife or what have you, doesn't matter. The next life, right? I think the other part of it is the for me in my experience. So about a year ago, I was having some issues, medical issues. I didn't realize it was medical at the time. And I would see things, right? Like this little thing got floating out the corner of my eye, and I'll turn my head and it ain't there. And I'm like, and I was thinking to myself, what the heck is that? What else? So I get back to working on the computer, see this little blue or black dot or whatever, red speck or whatever go, and I'm like, okay. And at this rate, I'm thinking I'm going crazy. Like I'm going insane. I'm in the middle of therapy sessions and the same thing is happening. And I have a patient talking to me and I'm like, yeah, a patient's looking at me and I'm looking over here because I just saw something fly by or float by, or whatever. So I scheduled a emergency eye doctor appointment. Come to find out, I have floaters. Okay, doctor walked in. She was like, "Kevin, welcome to me to getting old," and I'm like, "You mother, whatever, doc." But reality is, this floaters is a very common thing. And once I had that diagnosis, whatever, uh, I was when I went back and spoke to a couple of people I actually trusted on the unit, and they were like, "Yeah, Kev, I got floaters too." And I'm like, "Oh my god, y'all don't think I'm crazy? Y'all don't think I need a bed? Y'all don't think I need a psych eval?" Oh Lord,
But but yeah, like it's so much there's so much stuff like that that if we would just be open and talk about, like we'll find out that we all understand these certain things. Like
right,
even that even floaters that could be tied to something spiritual as well. Like you can start to
right.
see spirits and all of like it's so much to it that we don't realize just because of the fear and we're told no that's not proper or people would
Yep,
think you look crazy. But
yep.
it's all right to look crazy. We're all crazy. Just
Well,
accept it.
yeah, we're all a little a tad bit crazy.
Yeah.
Um, no, I mean literally, man. I've had so many spiritual experiences before recovery and and since being in recovery. Uh, and so when it comes to talking about that, like I've I've had people tell me I was crazy, and that's okay too. And I'm like, you don't literally like one of my favorite shows. One of them is Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. Because a lot of that stuff that they experience, I've experienced a lot of similar stuff too throughout my time on this earth so far. And like I'm a true believer of the other side. I'm a true believer that there are spirits amongst us, whether I can't physically see them. But like if we just allow ourselves to just kind of be present, like I truly believe that we can feel, we can experience, we can see. I have seen apparition, right? I have literally sat on the I was up in Virginia, hour north of Lynchburg, hour and a half north of Lynchburg, and I woke up sick as a dog with an apparition sitting on the side of the bed. Like too close for comfort, for sure. But hey, listen, like I've experienced it. And people that to the non believers, people like you and I are crazy. But I can have a conversation. Like I'm comfortable talking about it because it's my experience.
And and for the non-believers, like if you want a tangible way to understand some of this, how this could be, is like, and I was talking about this earlier today, the stick experiment. Like, let's just say you have a stick in a dark room and you just start to vibrate it or you start to shake it. So it's dark, so you can't really see it, but at first you can hear it a little bit. It's like the whoosh whoosh, and then as it goes faster and faster, whoosh whoosh whoosh, until you can't hear it anymore. And so then there's a space where you probably can only sense it maybe through touch, like you might feel the wind, but then that might turn into heat. As you vibrate higher, it turns into light. If you go even higher than that, it's ultraviolet light, which the sun emits that kind of light. But again, all these things are like you can pass through it. Like there's light on me right now, but I'm not touching the light like it's a physical thing, and it's all vibration. And they say like thought actually lives in between some of those vibrations that we can't perceive from the natural state. And like we have Wi-Fi that goes through, we have radio waves that go through the unseen. It's here physically, but we can't touch it. And so that there are other beings that are vibrating higher than us and even lower than us that we wouldn't even know their presence is there. They might not even acknowledge our presence because we're vibrating so low. So it's easy to see how things can pass through other things and not know of their existence. But then when we raise our vibration and are happy and just ecstatic, we can tune in to some of those things. Which is why, again, like people like, well, how come some people can hear from loved ones and others can't that passed on? It's because when they think of them, they get sad and they drop to a lower vibration. But if they remain that neutral, happy self that can pick up on it, then they can be able to communicate and things like that.
Yeah, no, and I have an uncle that is all into the vibration and everything that you were just talking about, and he teaches people. I think he's slowly becoming a coach, and I don't think he realizes it, like a spiritual transformation coach, kind of like yourself. I don't think he realizes it. That's what he's doing, but He talks about I do a lot of grounding. You know, I teach patients how to ground, and I even do grounding myself. Since I'm in Texas, I've been walking and kind of just barefoot, allowing myself to kind of be one with the earth and one with the planet and everything, and one with nature and all of that. He takes a lot deeper, just like you did, than I do with people, and he teaches people how to, do barefoot and all of that. And then he also teaches how you can look into the sun, you know, get the like raise your vibrations. I mean, there's a whole nother area level that he is more in tune with than I am. And it's like, wow, like I wish he was on here because you and he would be having a freaking amazing conversation with that. Like, because that is a whole, like, folks, if you're listening to us or watching us, okay, hear me out. Yes, we talk about mental health, we talk about substance use, and we talk about suicide prevention. Spirituality, that's what we're talking about right now. Uh, this is a part of recovery for many people. A lot of people have different types of forms of spirituality. Use it. Like, dig into this, because this is the whole spiritual peace realm here, or spirituality realm is very broad, is very inclusive for many people. It doesn't matter your religion, it doesn't matter your whatever label you have on yourself, it doesn't matter. This whole spirituality and spiritual realm, this is a whole beautiful thing. And once I'm done with school, I plan on doing more studies into it because research supports a lot of what we're talking about right now. I'm just not an expert at it like he is, and like my uncle is, and many, many other teachers and people who have walked this path. Like, check it out, folks. Check it out. It's very healthy for you. It is very, very educational for you.
Yeah. And it's all connected. Like we don't realize how much it's all connected. Like the mental health part of it is very connected to spirituality. And a lot of times when people aren't at their best mentally, they're ignoring their intuition. Like that intuition is in the simplest sense, it's when you get a bright idea, like, "Ooh, it'll be fun to do this," and we often ignore it because we start piling on logic. Well, no, people are gonna think this of me. What will my family think? Or blah blah blah, and you pile all this on where you ignore that intuition, and so you get less happy and less happy and less happy. But once you start reconnecting to those ideas and following them through, it opens up so much. Like when you really think about the best things that happen in your life, you had nothing to do with it. Like it just happened. If you tried to plan it or recreate it, it does not come out the same, but it just happens because life just happens and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And you can stay in that space if you just follow your inner guidance. And to me, I feel like guide almost sounds like God, your inner godness. Like when you listen to that, it leads to more happiness, which leads to more
Right.
opportunities and freedom.
No, absolutely. Look, I had a situation happen back in November. Okay, and this is where this kidney transplant started. At back in November, and so I'm in the midst of having a conversation with my best friend, and I said, "Well," then we got on some type of subject about all of this, and I'm like, "Well, shoot, do you want me to give it a shot and see what happens?" That was how we ended up starting. She never said yes. She never said no. She was like, "I'm not going to ask you to do that." And I'm like, "Just shut up and answer the question, please." She still never answered. So I'm like, "You know what? Screw it. Just send me the info." And she was like, "All right, cool." So ended up, like as you were talking, right? Like where how we get this type of thought process to do something, right? The way I typically explain it to people is when you say this inner guide or inner godness, right? It's inner consciousness, just God consciousness within. This is how I like to explain it. Or I say, hey, the spirit, you know, leads me, or the spirit is that in the third. And so I prayed about it and I thought about it, and I felt like inner that I should at least try. The only thing they can say is no, right? Yay or nay. So I said, screw it, I'm gonna try. And then I kept getting in many different directions. I was getting kind of like some negative stuff, like external negativity trying to come at me and trying to sidetrack me. And one of my colleagues asked me, she was like, "What does the spirit tell you, Kev?" And I'm like, "The spirit tells me to try." Because she's very spiritual herself. And I said, just the spirit is telling me to try, because if I don't try, if I don't ever try to see what, if I don't try to figure out and see what happens, I'm gonna regret it myself, knowing that I know this and that I potentially could do with this, but I don't do it anyways. I'm gonna feel bad about self. I'm not going to be able to live with self, period, ever at all. And she was like, that's what matters the most. Doesn't matter what all of this outside clamor says. What matters is what the spirit is leading you to do. That's the most important thing. And if you listen to that and if you follow that, then you'll be okay. And some people might say that is, acting impulsively or acting this or acting that. No, like these thoughts come out of nowhere. I believe these thoughts come out of nowhere. I believe that. And the reason I say that is because there's a book I study, and if you're in recovery, you'll know which book I'm talking about. But the guy was in and out of the hospitals for alcoholic, intoxication, and his last time being in the hospital, he had this type of overwhelming experience, right? And then the next thought was, hey, many people would love to have this type of experience that I just had. And my job is to help others get sober. And so some people think that overwhelming wow experience was a spiritual experience. I disagree with that. I think is exactly what you just said, Jay, was this thought came out of nowhere. Just like for me in my experience, my thought to help came out of nowhere. I didn't think I didn't think about it. The thought was put into my mind to, you should try this and see what happens. You should try. Just like he had a thought, you should try to help others get sober. And, of course, 85 plus 20, 90 years later, but that's where we're at. You see what I'm saying? So I agree with what you're saying. That this thought, it all starts with a thought that, the spirit does, it might talk to people like you and I are talking right now. But if we're not in a conversation with people, like that thought will come into place from where?
Right. And that's what I think is like is connected to all of that. Like that's that inner consciousness, like you said, like it is communicating with you saying, hey, follow this thread. This is your way back to where you want to be. We know where you want to be. You're calm enough in this moment to be able to hear it. And so now that you can hear it, follow it through. Like I love what you said about you couldn't live with yourself. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like yourself is the person you live with the longest. Like, you have these other relationships, they'll be around for a time, but you yourself is the longest. And when you don't like yourself is hard. Is tough. And that's why like a lot of people get caught up on the past. They're like, I can't believe I did this. I'm a horrible person, all of this. But when you start to follow that thread, like that interesting thing that comes up, you realize, oh, this happened for a reason. Now I can help people. Oh, I'm perfectly suited to help people because I really know this. I understand it. I can show you this, how this leads to this, that leads to that. And it changes the perspective of everything. And next thing you know, you're climbing out, getting higher and higher, and you become. I like to say, like you become more light like. And what do you know about light? Like light can show everyone light from far away. The brighter you light it, you know what I mean? Like the sun lights the entire earth, and it shines away all the darkness, so you can see things for what they truly are. And as you become more light like, you can show people what the truth actually is, and like, look, like, no, you're not darkness. You're just believing you are, and you're hiding from yourself. You're staying in the dark, but all of this exists for you to help and show the way.
Right. No, absolutely. And there I was watching a show last night slash this morning, and it's Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. And just in case anybody knows or doesn't know, like if I were gay or homosexual, whatever the correct term is, he would be my husband because I love his job. I love the fact that he travels the whole world and he gets to have all these crazy, beautiful, amazing experiences. But no, really, though, all jokes aside, one of the shows I was watching, and of course, I think it was like a few seasons old or a few seasons ago, but it was at a place that is rarely ever dark on Earth. And for me, I think walking in the sunlight of the spirit is exactly that, right? I might have a few moments of darkness, and that's okay. It's one of those things that's what happens to the best of us. You know, the devil tempted, if you're Christian, right? The devil tempted Jesus multiple times, right? If you're truly the son of God, do this, right? Or you would show this, or like he was tempting, or questioning, or what have you. Well, I think the same thing with walking in the sunlight of the spirit. If we're truly doing our best to walk in the sunlight of the spirit, we're going to experience it. We're going to experience the sunlight of the spirit. Even on some of our darkest days, we might not be able to feel it or see it, but or vice versa, but we can feel it or see it if we truly allow ourselves, even in the darkest moments. And it's okay. It's completely okay, right? Some of the world's greatest leaders and teachers even walked through some of the darkest moments ever in history. We're no different. We are no different. Our goal, I think, ultimately, from a spiritual perspective, is to do our best to live and walk in the sunlight of the spirit. I think that is our ultimate goal, our ultimate, destination. I guess you can say a destination.
Yeah. And with that, like, not only doing that, but with no expectation of, what it'll bring or lead to. Like for instance, uh, I I don't know if you remember. There's a show called Quantum Leap where this dude just kind of like leaps into people's bodies and he helps the situation and then he goes on to the next. Well, recently I've been feeling like I'm living like that because I ended up going to this retreat a couple months ago. I met some people. I kind of help people kind of be in better energy. But of course, I mean, I got something too. Like I learned a lot from the experience. Then I met someone there who was like, "Oh, you're in Houston? I'm helping this company at the NAPE conference, which is an oil and gas conference. Hey, you should come and help us with our booth and blah blah blah." And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about gas, but what does the spirit say? Do it. So I I went in and I saw why I was needed. Like they would have been all right without me, but some of the relationships probably wouldn't have lasted. It was just crazy. Like I was, it was almost like I was doing both intern work, but also I was a star person to attract the right people. And it was like a middle of both. And I was just like, this is crazy that I'm doing this. Even so much so that I'm speaking about the gas industry like I know it based on what they taught me and stuff, but I'm speaking confidently. They're receiving information that the connections are being made. And then I move on. Like I might not see any of them ever again, but it's just the fact that like it opened my eyes to a lot about what I'm capable of and what others are capable of, and just how you just being that glue for a certain amount of time can help so much that you might not even realize by just you being willing to be that walking light, as you said, and just walking in that light. And I don't know, it just reverberates endlessly. And then at other times when you need it, there'll be somebody that pops up out of nowhere to be that to you, and it just works out beautifully.
No, absolutely, and it's interesting you say that because I went to so I last year when man I did so many conferences, man, just from you know Atlantic Beach, North Carolina to Lake Junaluska, North Carolina to uh, Philadelphia. Did a cross country tour to Seattle and back from North Carolina to Seattle and back. Like, oh my God. And then, yeah, I mean, it's just been one place, one conference right after another. This year, I don't know about conferences now besides Lake Junaluska and and hours at Atlantic Beach. Um, so I was hoping to go to Kansas and Denver, but with me having to do this, like I mean, I can't really go do another conference now except for the two that I got lined up. But one of the things I learned at each conference, and it's interesting that you share that because, that you share what you shared. Because after I left those conferences, I was thinking, I'm like, wow, I can do this on the unit and I can advocate for this to be done on the unit. So I would go back to work and implement something on the unit immediately. And then I'd advocate, I would send a nice, beautiful email or whatever to my supervisor, excuse me. And I will advocate for certain things to be done. I'm like, hey, I can do this, which I'm fine with. I would like to advocate for this and this and this and this, and I would love to be a part of it if possible, right? And I would do that after every conference that I go to. I would learn all this new stuff and all these new skills. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. Get to help people, right? And it's interesting because from what I have been able to we have been able to, since doing that, we have been able to reduce um the recidivism rates on the unit itself. We've been able to help transform lives. And the most important thing is, this is the coolest thing about it. Some of the stuff that I do on the unit, our ancestors used to do, and still a lot of the native populations still do. And I say native like very tribal, right? Papua New Guinea, a lot of your Native Americans, stuff like that. Um, a lot of them folks still do it. And so I call it Eastern practices or Eastern what have you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool how it all works. Like we like to plan, we think we know everything, but then if we allow life to surprise us, it surprises in the most beautiful way and just makes it so much grander than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's really, you know, one of the things that I've learned, especially from more of your Eastern cultures and not so much Western civilization. This is my problem with, I'm gonna say this is my problem with us white folks. I had to say that. I'm sorry, I had to. When I look at a lot of your Eastern cultures, a lot of your collectivistic cultures versus Western civilization, one of the biggest things that I see, the biggest differences is in Western civilizations, and then a lot more often than not within the white or Caucasian populations or European population, I see individualism versus within your collectivistic cultures or Eastern cultures, I see collectivistic, you know, and I think a lot of what a big problem that we have in society is we have this huge push in individualism versus collectivism. And I think if we were to get back to our roots of the spirituality, the spiritual realms, and collectivist, and these ideals of collectivistic, I think we would be better off because now we're making decisions that we were spiritually, I think, meant to be. When we're living for one another, we're obligated to assist one another. As you said earlier, I love what you shared earlier, and I haven't heard that for so long. If I'm helping others, if I'm living my life trying to help others and I'm trying to assist others, my problems are being solved, regardless of whether I believe it or know it or not, or see it or not. Right. And when I need help, and all I have to do is reach out and boom, I got somebody there, right? Like it doesn't matter. But my main obligation isn't to help me, is to help others. Trust God, clean house, help others.
Yeah.
It's what I was told 13 years ago. And today it's still the same thing. It's about living my life one day at a time, trying to help others. And I think the most important prayer ever that really demonstrates that is the prayer of St. Francis.
Which prayer is that? I don't know.
St. Francis, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there's, um, I'm a paraphrase here, that where there's hatred, let me sow love. there's peace, chaos, let me sow peace, things like that. Um, and I'm paraphrasing there because it's a long, drawn out prayer, but it's a prayer that I think is everything we're talking about. It's the essence of living life, trying to help somebody else.
Yeah, and to that, I think actually, like if we bring the two together, it'll even do even more. Like individualism, but in helping the collective. And what I mean by that, like so, like in some Eastern cultures, you would see that they're very mired in tradition and they don't want to change anything. They're like, we've done this for thousands of years. We're going to keep doing this. And so that individualism is suppressed in a sense, but someone can come along like, oh, we can do this, but if we do it this way, we can even do it better. And, like it allows for more organic change, but everyone is still in mind, but you have that freedom to like truly express yourself. Like even like I'm making music that helps everyone, that I believe helps everyone, but I'm doing it in my way of what I think sounds good. And when you do it like that, like it makes me happy to do it because I'm not restricted into certain guidelines. Versus if somebody said you can only make music in this key, in this time signature, you have to speak this way, like that deadens that spirit where it could lead to depression.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I definitely agree with you on that one. Because it's you know, I I truly do believe that there's not, there's more than one way to skin a cat. The way you skin a cat isn't going to be the way I skin a cat. Now, if you're getting into skinning deer, then that's one thing. I mean, there's only one way to skin a deer, right? But the old saying of there's more than one way to skin a cat, I think is true. I think it's true. Your way is what worked for you, and my way is what works for me. And therefore, if we bring it together collectivistically, we can do a whole lot more than we could just alone. And I think that, and I love I love that way of thinking, especially with your music too, is you're helping people in your way, and other people who do music and, or helping people in their way too. And together, y'all make up the industry of music.
Yeah. And it's really that simple. Like, cause I mean, as much as we do want to stand out individually, everybody has the same thing where nobody wants to be alone. Like we want to share this. We naturally want to share the love. Like, hey, this worked out for me. Do this. Like whenever we make a big change, we want to evangelize it and tell the world, hey, you should do this. But because we naturally want to share in that group mentality, and so the more we allow ourselves to do that, but still express ourselves individually, like it just everybody's happy about it.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where, I I think that's what I would like to challenge everybody who's listening to this or watching us, right? Is, there's more to life than just only doing it yourself, and there's more to life than only doing it for others, right? We immerse ourselves with different things, and we can bring our unique experiences, our unique perspectives, our unique skills to a group of whatever it might be that we're doing and working with or working in, and therefore we can make it a unique group, a unique experience as a whole. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
This is a great therapeutic session for me. Did you ever think that we were going to talk like this whenever you got on?
I really had no idea, like, because sometimes some interviews are just questions, 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 and I don't even think questions were asked, except just that one. It was just a natural conversation. So yeah, I love it.
Well, hold on. Wow. I don't think any questions were asked either. I don't remember asking one question. I just
Yeah,
remember just building on each other.
and that's the best way. Yeah. So
Right.
which means what was supposed to come out came out today. So yeah.
Right, right. Wow. Wow, that was awesome. Oh, man. Like, do you have any questions for me?
Nah, no questions. I'm just excited to just meet another person that's doing this in a different way and just like is cool. And actually, your energy reminds me of my uncle. It's very interesting. So yeah, but
I appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah,
Seriously.
yeah.
All right. Listen to I know I can keep you all day, but I know you probably got other stuff that's you have going on on your side, and you have to get music going, and you got a family, and you got life, and all of that stuff on your end. So to wrap us up, just a couple of questions here. What is if people want to book you, maybe for music, maybe for coaching, maybe for mentorship, menteeship, anything of that sort, uh, maybe even a recording, a podcast, or whatever. How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, just reach out to me. My website is jclay.org, and my email address is I am at jclay.org. Very simple. On social media, I'm JClay first, JClay, the number one, and then ST. But if you just start typing JClay, I'll pop up first. Reach out to me. I answer everything. I'm happy to help always. And yeah.
All right. And what is it that you would hope that somebody takes away from this session?
That you are perfect, even though you may not realize it yet. And there's nothing that can interfere with that perfection. There's nothing that you can do that can undo that perfection. I believe that we are created by a perfect creator, and what that means, if the creator is perfect, all of the creator's creations are perfect. And as being a creation of the creator, we can't change our nature of what was intended, no matter how much we believe we can. And so, in that same way, I can't judge you as not that. I can't like I'm not even qualified to say that you're not perfect or anyone isn't perfect. I can only accept what was given to me is that we are all perfect, and there is nothing more stronger than the creator to undo that. Just remember that for yourself, and not you in particular, but just everyone watching, that you have a purpose. You are here for a reason. You are more powerful than you realize, and you are perfect.
It's beautifully said. Last but not least, and most importantly, is what is your call to action?
It's a good question. My call to action is to just truly be helpful in this moment. And what that looks like changes depending on the situation, but just to truly be helpful in this moment.
I love it. That's a beautiful call to action. Well, folks, you heard it best from Jay Clay. Absolutely an amazing experience with him on today's show. Uh, reach out to him. Listen, follow him on social media. Reach out to him. Book him for a session. Uh, the amazing energy. I absolutely love what he said. And no, this is not his first and only time on this show. This is his first time, but I promise you, he's going to be coming back on. I don't know when, but hey, listen, his person's got to book it. Okay. Uh, so with that being said, folks, thank you for checking us out. Check Mr. J Clay out, and yeah, thank you
Thank
for thank you for being on. I do appreciate it.
Appreciate you as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.